Tales of Arise was a game that I was looking forward to. With how gorgeous the game looks in all the trailers, the focus on action combat is in line with what a lot of JRPGs are doing nowadays, and personally, it's a change that I've enjoyed. It's made me like the genre even more. But after playing the demo, I don't really know how excited I am at this point. I got a code from Bandai Namco to play the demo a day early, but the demo is exactly the same that will be available for everyone. So if you're curious and want to try it out, you can just do it for yourself. It's free, just download and play. I think it's on every platform the game's coming out for. But I think that while Tales is innovating the series a lot with this game, it somehow still feels outdated given how far JRPGs have come in the last few years. They've taken a more action-adventure approach to the combat and exploration, perhaps looking to emulate Final Fantasy VII Remake a little bit, but they just don't go far enough in that direction, so it feels like a game that's lost between the new style and the old style and doesn't pull any of them off. I should maybe preface this by saying that I don't think this demo is great, and that really leaves a negative impression on this game. Perhaps even worse than what the game will finally be, but that's just the impression that I've got, and I want to be honest with you guys. For example, combat. You have a party of 6 characters, and you can control any of them, but the game will make you focus on one, or encourage you, nudge you that way. Swapping between characters is possible, but you gotta find out how to do it yourself. In the full game, with the proper time to tutorialize this, I bet it won't be an issue, but since this is an RPG, it's pretty heavy on mechanics, and some of them can make or break the game. For instance, you can freeze combat to choose your target, which includes choosing the weak points of a big monster for bonus damage and a stun state once you break it. But the demo doesn't have the time to go through all of that, so you're left feeling like you don't fully understand what to do unless you randomly discover it. That said, I don't think this will be a problem in the final game. With the proper tutorialization and enough time to introduce these systems one at a time, you'll have a better understanding of the system mechanics and won't run into this at all. But it's an example of how I think this demo leaves a bad first impression. There's so much to learn, so much you can do. For instance, there's a tactics screen that reminded me of Final Fantasy XII, where you can set a lot of instructions for each party member and customize strategies that way. But with all that said, even when you get the hang of it, combat still didn't feel great. There are 6 party members, and your power comes from all of you attacking the enemy at the same time. So on your own, you never feel powerful. You never feel like you're taking down enemies, you feel like you're just contributing to the overall party damage. So the combat becomes dodging powerful attacks and pressing all the abilities out of cooldown. It's a cooldown management system. And for as flashy as these attack animations and effects are, none of it feels powerful because none of it is dealing insane amounts of damage. And it kinda can't deal a lot of damage because then you'd have 6 total damage machines and combat would be broken. Also, you can see the monsters while you're free roaming, and they're pretty easy to avoid if you're not looking for a fight. But if you do engage in combat, the game first has to fade to black, even though you're loading into essentially the same area, and then puts you on this circular arena that is a pain to fight in. Enemies constantly attack towards the borders, and once you take your character there, it becomes hard to dodge and the camera has a bunch of issues. It's just not a pleasant experience, and once the fight is over, it loads back into the world. Now, these loads are pretty fast, but since they're so frequent, they get pretty annoying. And given the money we spent on new consoles and how big of a deal games with no loading screens are becoming, this already feels outdated. You're gonna be entering and leaving combat all the time. For as small as this load is, it's gonna get annoying. Even crossing a bridge, it fades to black to load to the next area, and I'm sure there was a better solution for this. As someone who does love to explore, I want to cross that bridge. I want to see what's on the other side. But fading to black kinda takes me out of it. And yes, I know it sounds like a pet peeve, but in the last year alone, I've been hit by so many games pushing their genres and innovating that I can't help but feel that this is disappointing because it's not pushing the genre in any way. It's pushing the Tales series, for sure, but it still falls short of what the genre standards are nowadays. It's not all bad though. Exploration sure feels rewarding. There are a ton of materials to pick up in this first area alone. There are treasure chests with weapons to find, and by the way, each weapon has a different look to them, and some of the weapon designs are really awesome. And the area design is also great. There's a good variety here. No matter which hill you're climbing, you know exactly where you are, because no assets are being copy-pasted. The rocks in one area are different from the rocks in another area, which is something that we see in anime games all the time. They just copy and paste a bunch of assets. Now, I do feel like I've seen this type of environment in about 10 different games over the last 5 years, but still, given how crafted and alive this zone feels, it makes me want to explore. It makes me want to see every nook and cranny, make sure I didn't miss any chests, even if the character's movement and jump animation are a bit limited, feeling like a true JRPG and less like an action game. But this being a JRPG, there's obviously a big focus on story. You're gonna get hours and hours of content just doing the story quest and side missions and things like that. Well, this demo doesn't really have any of it. You are on a simple mission of going into a city, so there are barely any NPCs out there. and you pretty much just have the one mission, which is getting into the city. And the writing for this quest is what I would call an immediate turnoff for me. Because you make it to the city and uh-oh, the gates are closed because there's a big monster roaming around. If only someone were to take care of this problem. It's just the laziest excuse to pad out a quest, one that's been used in RPGs since the beginning of time. This is the 25th anniversary of the Tales series. They've been making these games for a long time. The fact that this is what they chose to show in a demo, I just wonder how much more there will be of this in the final game. Because there are a lot of good reasons to come to a JRPG, but if you're gonna give me 20 quests to kill 10 different monsters, I don't know, man. I've done enough of that in my lifetime. Besides, you've got a couple of dialogue scenes for this quest, and none of them are voice acted. If this is the main quest and this dialogue, these cutscenes are mandatory, the bare minimum is to voice the main quest dialogue. This feels super outdated, and I would understand if you were to choose a character and that character was the one interacting with the NPCs, because then that would mean they would need to record the same voice lines for 6 different characters. But that's not even the case. No matter who your party leader is or who you're playing as, the game chooses the character that's going to be in the cutscene, so it's always the same. And that's not to say that there's no voice acting. Whenever you're resting at a camp or even exploring the world, you can hit the right bumper to prompt a cutscene that's told in this comic book style. And these are voice acted, but man, they feel like the most filler cutscenes ever. It's never about the story, it's all about small moments and interactions between these different characters, which is fine, I love that kind of stuff, but it's odd that they chose to voice these and not the main cutscenes.
Oh, that's transferal technology. When I don't need my weapon, I submerge it in empty space. And when I do, I summon it. Make sense?
There's English and Japanese voice acting. I tried both of them out. They both seem okay. They're both annoying as hell when you're casting a spell repeatedly on a boss because they just keep yelling the same voice line and it doesn't feel like they've recorded different takes, so it gets really annoying. But while we're watching cutscenes, I'd like to talk about character design, and I think the character design is cool for the most part. I do hate the way the mouths animate during the voice acted parts, like it's so bad. And graphics wise, this game isn't really doing it for me. Characters feel like they are made of plastic, like they're toys. I'm not getting those anime vibes that I got with Scarlet Nexus. Man, anime graphics have come so far, and Bandai Namco is responsible for a lot of this evolution, that these models feel like a major step back. This demo has a bunch of things that feel outdated, and they're so little that on their own they shouldn't bother anyone, but they pile up, one after another. And that has made me less excited for this new Tales game than I initially was. Last time Bandai Namco sent me a demo, it was for Scarlet Nexus, which had the exact opposite impact in me. That was a game that I was keeping my eye on, but not particularly excited. And the demo completely turned me into a fan. This one made me go from someone who was looking forward to getting this game and playing it as soon as possible to bring you guys a review, to someone who's probably just gonna wait for reviews from other people before deciding to invest my own time in it. Because you know that this game is gonna be a big time investment, and that's cool, but I need to know if it's worth it before I do it. And there are way too many red flags in this demo. But that's just what I think. Like I said, the demo is available on pretty much every platform, so you can try it out for yourself and just let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye!